Everybody, if you're just tuning in, I'm your host, Kev Phares, and you're watching Speechless on Cities 92.9 and the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and beyond. Obviously, I'm not live on the radio. This is simply my YouTube daily show, and I'm so happy to be talking to you guys today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. There's that like button right there. You can subscribe. I'm trying new things with new cameras here, seeing the best way to bring you guys this content, and I hope you guys like it. Leave me a comment down below as to if you like the new camera setup. Am I messing it up? Maybe you got any advice for me? Let me know, because I'm always trying to upgrade and do new things here for Speechless. We got another story for you guys here today, though. Bud Light, out of the New York Post, distributors are waving the white flag with Bud Light. Many Anheuser-Busch distributors say they are resigning to their painful Bud Light losses, and they've given up on luring back disaffected customers following the Dylan Mulvaney fiasco, the Post has learned. After 4 months of hiring freezes and layoffs, with some beer truck drivers getting heckled and harassed, even as Bud Light sales have dropped by more than 25%, Anheuser-Busch wholesalers have accepted that they have lost a chunk of their customers for good and need to focus on a crop of drinkers. Consumers have made a choice, said an executive at the Texas-based beer distributor who did not want to be identified. They have left Bud Light, and that's how it's going to be. I don't envision a big percentage of them coming back. Sales of the Anheuser-Busch beers, including Budweiser, Michelob Ultra, and Busch Light, have also been in decline since Bud Light's marketing tie-up with Dylan Mulvaney. Some stores are even rumored to not be restocking Bud Light. Earlier this month, social media users shopping at Costco posted images showing an asterisk, which customers have branded the Star of Death that has appeared on the price display above shelves stacked with cases of Bud Light. The asterisk is thought to be an ominous sign that Costco either doesn't intend to restock its shelf, that doesn't intend to restock the shelf with the item in question. So everybody, here's the thing: I feel bad for the people in distributing, people they're hard workers that work in warehouses, that are truckers, anything like that. I've always felt bad for it. But to take down the people at the top, unfortunately, the foundation has to crumble. And so overall, while I'm sad for them, I'm hoping, and I'd urge anybody, if you're watching this and you're one of those people, go check out what's going on with Coors and other brands. Coors, Heineken, other beer brands, if that's, or just period in the distributing industry. There are other brands that are doing much better because they haven't succumbed to woke nonsense nearly as much as Bud Light did with Dylan Mulvaney. And while it seems like the boycott, is working, everybody, and I've been covering this story for months, and I never imagined that the controversy would extend this long or this far. But here we are. This will be written about in textbooks. To be clear, this will be written about in textbooks. Usually things like this, it's a quick social media outrage, then on to the next thing. But this is one of the first times that it ever has not been that. And it is and the common man has been able to affect real change because the consumer did not listen to, the brand did not listen to the consumer. In fact, while I say this will be written about in textbooks, one prominent shark plans, and not a real shark, but from Shark Tank, plans on teaching this case study in college business classrooms. Let's take a look.
You know, when you talk about something you won't be seeing served as much on Main Street or at the kitchen table as the popular American beer Bud Light. I mean, you talk about making a misstep, 25% of market share collapses. That equates to billions of dollars in losses, all because, and this is a quote that I'm pulling off the internet, so, you know, not directly attributed, but Alyssa Gordon Heiner, I don't know how to say her last name. I'll just say this. She was quoted in a podcast saying the brand's focus was to no longer cater to frat guys. I don't know that frat guys are what was buying Bud Light, but I'll tell you who isn't buying Bud Light, about 25% of the people that used to.
Yeah, this is an extraordinary case, and one I'll be teaching in business schools across America this fall. In the history of beer, in the history from when it was marketed, because remember, you're dealing with a commodity. Beer is essentially the same. What differentiates it is brand.
Yeah.
So you spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year building up a brand, and then you have to ask yourself, on a campaign that really brings you into a discussion around gender identity, is that the right thing for my beer brand? Well, apparently not, because even if you spend $200 million a year, the biggest moves in the beer market were measured by 1% to 5% in a year. That's an extraordinary volatility. To lose 25% market share has never been achieved, and it's impossible to even dream it. So what have you learned? Social media, widely held view amongst my CEOs, is that if you get a bad social media story, it's going to go away in 24 to 48 hours. But that didn't happen here.
No.
We're still talking about this situation months later, and they continue to lose share. That's number one is an issue. Yeah. Number two, you've really got to understand who your constituency is.
Exactly.
What they did there was very damaging.
Yeah, I think most of us can see that. I don't know.
Know your audience.
Yeah. All right, Kevin O'Leary, great to speak with you this morning.
So, like he said, know your audience, or like she said, know your audience, and you got to know your constituencies, and that's what Bud Light did not do. That's what Bud Light did not do. Instead, they decided to go for the vanity, or like he said, the VP of marketing decided to say, hey, let's get away from the fratty audience. And so again, I've covered all this before. This is nothing new, but I think it's amazing. Again, Kevin O'Leary is not a particularly conservative individual. He's not. Kevin O'Leary has come out and been somewhat more woke in some of his ideology, but consider this, right? Kevin O'Leary, despite not being a conservative individual, speaks to the not explicitly political issue underlying this whole story. Know your consumer. And I believe the Bud Light fiasco in and of itself has sparked a consumer shift from liberal and woke pandering towards, if not conservative, at least realistic expectations of a company. So like, consider these. Bud Light and Target lost billions of dollars over anti-woke boycotts. Sound of Freedom just hit $150 million at the box office. Jason Aldean's Try That in a Small Town is the number one song, or was briefly the number one song on iTunes when the woke tried to cancel that. Disney lost $900 million plus on their last 8 released Disney movies, and Disney World itself is empty because it's too expensive and people are kind of fed up with the woke crap. As I constantly say on this show, the silent majority will be silent no longer. And these boycotts and bringing attention to people that actually represent what we represent will take back the American culture from the neoliberal fascists that are trying to put in things like ESG scores and corporate woke crap. The silent majority will be silent no longer. And Kevin O'Leary is going to go teach that in college classrooms, and I love it. And I love it.